Hello and welcome to the Be Glad movement. My name's Pollyanna and I'm on a mission to bring you as many stories as possible of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. And today I'm joined by Tom, who is the mental health runner, and he has just released a new book called Surviving the War Against Myself. I'm going to do my usual of getting out of the way and handing over to Tom. Oh, first of all, hi Tom, say hi.
Hello.
Hey, thank you so much for joining me. I always say I'm going to get out of the way and let you tell your story. I need to think of a different line but it is about you telling your story. So why don't you take us right back to what it was like being Tom growing up when you were a kid at school?
When I was a child, I was growing up, my life at home was really good. Like, my parents and my brothers were amazing. But outside of the house, it was pretty bad. I would be chased to school. I'd have to be sprint to school. I'd be beaten up quite often because I was a big guy, so I'd never really get away. And then kind of from that, I got bullied pretty much every day up until I pretty much left school, really.
Right.
Some of the things that happened to me as a kid were horrific. Like, there was one instance where I think I was in year 5, so I was about 10 years old. And a load of the kids that were bullying me lured me to like the furthest part of the sports field, thinking to play football. So I thought, brilliant, I've got friends, fantastic, and went to play football. But it just turned out that I was being pushed around, and when I finally got pushed on the floor, they just kind of encircled me and just shouted a load of stuff at me. It really gets to me to this day, really.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's horrific. Kids can be so cruel, and I've got a 3-year-old myself, a little boy, and I really worry about this kind of thing, because there's no rhyme or reason to why children do it, really, is there? Or do you think that there was? You mentioned that you were a bigger kid. Do you think that was why? Sometimes the gentle giants do get singled out, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what it was. It was just, I was an easy target, and I reacted. I reacted whenever they gave me this, either when they beat me up or they shouted abuse at me. I reacted, and that's exactly what they wanted. So yeah, like I said, just gentle giant and looking after me, and basically being an easy target, really.
Gosh, horrible for you. But you say you had a very loving family home, so even though
Yeah.
this was going on at school, you would come home and feel safe at home, yeah?
Oh yeah. The house is amazing. Yeah, my mum and dad they're amazing. Still are. They always made sure I was happy. We went out. All normal happy family stuff. And my 2 brothers, me, Will and Rob, they looked after me, and we all looked after each other. Will was kind of like the guy who would always look after me. But in the background of that, we were always the 2 brothers to fall out, as in we would, shout at each other, but never really meant anything by it. We still loved each others. But it was we had that relationship where we would beat each other up, but in a brotherly way, if that makes sense.
And was he the oldest and you the youngest, or what?
No, I've got, like I said, I got 2 brothers, so I'm the youngest, and Will was the middle child, as people say.
Okay, right. So you were closer in age, maybe that's why you got on a bit better.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I don't really know, because there's quite a bit of an age difference between me and my 2 brothers.
Okay.
So there's 2 years between them, and then there's 7 years between me and Will.
Okay.
So it was I was always been a baby, unfortunately.
So that coming home was your sort of safe space, but then I know that tragedy hit, didn't it? And Will was taken away from you.
Yeah, unfortunately, Will died in 2009, and at the time I was just coming out of school, going into doing my degree in mechanical engineering, and that was probably the worst thing to, well, it is the worst thing to have happened to me, obviously losing my brother. But at the same time, being given that I'm on a doing my degree and I'm doing my apprenticeship, it was the wrong thing to, not the wrong thing to do, but it was my mind could preoccupy itself. So in the 5 years of doing my engineering degree, I just focused on that. So I had this escape. Yeah, that was my escape. So I never really dealt with it until about 5 years later, where pretty much when I graduated, that's when my mental health just kind of went, oh, by the way, this happened. You've got to sort this out.
Right. So you did the typical kind of grin and bear it, get on with your work, throw yourself into your work, and didn't allow yourself to sort of deal with those really tough emotions that you must have been going through when you lost your brother. So you got through you got through your course, and you graduated, and that was when you met your now wife as well, wasn't it, Amber? You were actually doing really well for yourself, you know.
Yeah. Those 5 years were really good. I mean, I had a decent, well, who I thought were a decent group of friends, and I obviously met my now wife Amber. Got a degree, and I was in a really good place. Like I thought I was unbreakable at the time. It was a really good place to be in.
But that wasn't to be the case, and that was when you started to have your mental health issues. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how they manifested themselves?
Yeah, so it all kind of really started where I started to hear things. Now, this wasn't kind of like a thought like what I'm having for tea or what am I doing later. This was kind of as if you were just to turn to me right now and just shout abuse at me, kind of like the bullies did when I was in school. And these voices were relentless. Like I say, it felt incredibly real, and you know, I felt scared of myself, so I couldn't tell anyone. Like I couldn't tell Amber, I couldn't tell my parents because I didn't really know what was going on. And then these voices kind of started to take control. So it was like this autopilot kicked in, and something else had control. So I would then start breaking the house apart. I would start throwing things, smashing things up. Kind of being told, you know, smash the window, kind of kick the door, and all that kind of thing. And from that, it kind of spiraled well out of control. That I then started to see things. So while the house was being smashed up and all this was going on, the only thing I really saw at one point was my brother Will, just kind of standing in every corner of the room. So of course I wanted to get out of the room, and then I'd smash more things up, and that's kind of where it all started really, and all kind of spiraled out of control.
That must have been so incredibly frightening for you. I can't even begin to imagine what it must be like to hear voices and then to sort of see your brother in the corner of the room. Well, what did you, I mean, obviously you reacted by more smashing up and that kind of thing, but what, I'm just trying to sort of get to what was going on in your mind, you know, what sort of, did you think, crikey, you know, I'm going mad? Did you think I should ask for help, or just bottle it up again, like, you know?
Just I kept bottling it up really, because I thought this was just how I was wired up and how I was supposed to be. I didn't really think there was anything wrong. But really, when the only point where I really had to get help was Amber, was because she was there through the entirety of it. She was amazing, absolutely incredible. She put up with a lot. She pretty much was walking out, and you know, I literally got on both my knees and I grabbed her by the hand and I begged for her to stay.
Right.
And being the incredible person she is, she said, "Yeah, I'll stay, but you've got to get some help."
Okay.
So that was kind of me thinking, well, you know, there's nothing wrong with me. This is just the way I'm wired up. It's the way that I'm supposed to be. So I went to the doctors the next day just so Amber would stay with me, and then yeah, pretty much within a couple of minutes in the GP's office, they were just diagnosed as unfit for work.
Okay. Unfit for work, and at that point, were they able to sort of put a finger on what was causing the voices and the visions for you?
Well, not at first. They said that I had depression. I was diagnosed with depression, and that I'll need to obviously see a psychiatrist and the community mental health team. So that's really all I was given. I was just told that I was suffering with depression, really.
Right, just depression. That's quite intense, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
Okay. So were you sent for some therapy to sort of work out, get to the root cause of what it was?
Yeah. So obviously it's not a dig on the NHS or anything, because they do an amazing job with what they've got and the resources they got. But obviously because of that, there was a long waiting list. So it took about 3/4 of a year, nearly a year, before I'd even see a professional, really, to get any form of formal diagnosis.
Okay. And what did they do for you in the meantime? Were you given some medication to control what you were experiencing?
Yeah, so I was put on antidepressants at the time, and beta blockers for controlling my anxiety.
Okay.
And I got given the details of the crisis team in case I ever needed them. So they were called out fairly often when I was in psychosis. I mean, the medication, it didn't really help at first. I mean, I didn't know that antidepressants take a long time to get into the system. But I mean, it wouldn't be for about another year or so where I'd be put on antipsychotics to help with that side of things.
Okay. So it's about a year before they realised that these were sort of psychosis type episodes that you were having.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a long time for you to wait, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, it's not like I say, a dig at the NHS. It's just the way it is at the minute. It's just funded, and you know what I mean. It's funded, and I know they're doing amazing things with what they've got. So, unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. And Amber was there to help you through all of this. So that was she was a massive rock for you during that time. And as I understand it, I know I've already said, you know, you do your mental health running, but as I understand it, am I right in thinking that you confided in some friends and started a podcast with some friends that sort of helped you get through a little bit? That was one of your stepping stones.
Yeah. So really, I trusted some friends, and we to begin with, when I spoke about mental health problems, and well, a long story short, it turned out that they weren't the best people I thought they were or could be, which put a big road bump in my life, led to several suicide attempts, unfortunately. But yeah, a big turning point was basically went to a rethink session where a charity rethink, where I met other people with the same diagnosis that I had.
Okay.
And that kind of spurred a moment of inspiration where Amber suggested about podcasting. So I got in touch with an old school friend. His name's Billy, who is still one of the most amazing people that I know. He was one of the only friends I had in school, and I had other friends, but he was one of the main friends for me. I mean, I had a very small collection of friends. And yeah, he's such an amazing guy. And we kind of just talked and said, look, let's do a podcast. Amber suggested let's give it a go. So we said, yeah, go on, let's do it. Yeah, so we started something called Triple Mega Super Threat, which was me, Billy, and his cousin Alan. And it was amazing because it was just three guys sat in just a corner room of the house and would talk about anything. So, I mean, we could talk about literally anything. So it'd be things like Brexit, Marvel films, video games, things like that. It was incredible. Yeah, it was just three guys talking, and it was really nice because it was like I had really close friends, and we were doing things outside of other things. It was
Sure.
nice.
Awesome. So that was a bit of a release for you. And in the session that you had, to know that there were other people with similar diagnosis that had gone on to, I think you mentioned before about there were people that had run their own companies and that kind of thing. Just sort of gave you that boost.
Yeah, because these people I met, they started off as apprentices for their own at the business they work at now, and yeah, they now own that business, and they travel the world. And it's when I got the diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, social anxiety disorder, and PTSD, I kind of thought, well, that's me. I'm labelled. I'm not going to get better, and it's not a death sentence. But if I do ever want to change employer, they'll go, oh no, he's got mental health issues, we won't employ him. That kind of thing. But then when I got talking to these people, and they said, yeah, well, I own the business that I started at as an apprentice, and I go around the world, and with the same diagnosis, it kind of made me think, oh, hang on a minute, I can get better. If these people have done it, why can't I?
Yes, definitely. That's the thing, isn't it? Because
Exactly,
I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding around mental health issues. There are people that have got dodgy knees, but they still manage to walk on them. I know people that have lost their legs, but they walk on prosthetics. So with your mental health, you can have a mental health diagnosis, but still be well. You can thrive with that diagnosis. And then there can be people that have no diagnosis, but their mental health still goes up and down, just like a healthy person can get a cold or a sickness bug. Your mental health is the same. It's never just one way or the other, which is, I think, quite an important message actually about mental health, because I think people have this idea that once you've got a diagnosis, you're ready for the scrap heap or something, and that's just not the case at all, is it? So tell me about the running, because that was a big turning point for you as well.
So when me and Amber first got together, we did a run race. It was an obstacle course race. And Amber suggested, when I was starting to get a bit better, said, why don't you go for a run? And I kind of at first, I laughed in her face. I was a big guy, I was 23.5 stone. And I kind of thought, well, you know what, let's do it. And so I signed up to the next 10K I could find, which was the Rochdale 10K. I've got a family in Rochdale anyway, so kind of like a mixture of seeing family and also go for a run. So I started running, and that was kind of a simple activity, put your headphones in, lace up your trainers, and then just go wherever the road takes you. And the race was amazing because, it wasn't pretty, I really was a mess running around that course. But, it didn't really matter because it was just me trying to get my life back. And I kind of stumbled across how mental health is massively benefited with physical activity. It is a massive staple to my recovery, especially like losing the weight. So within about 7 months, I'd lost just under 8 stone.
Wow.
Through running, and it really felt like I got my life back because mentally I was in a really sound place, and physically I was in a really good place. It just felt really amazing. And then that kind of like passion became almost a healthy obsession, where last year I did the London Marathon for the Mental Health Foundation.
Oh, the whole London Marathon! Wow, that's amazing.
But like I say, it's that journey of I literally put my trainers on when I was 23.5 stone. I think it's about 150 kilos. To leading up to when I was at the London Marathon, and I was 16 stone something, but I was just under 100 kilos, so I lost over 50 kilograms. And it was amazing how I stumbled across this thing, which is, it's free, it's enjoyable, which is arguable when you start running. But it was, it's incredible, and that's kind of like what I like to do now, is trying to help people see physical activity not as like a burden, as a way to lose weight, but as a way to look after yourself mentally as well.
Sure. And am I right in thinking that you've set up a group for other people to come and run and talk without the sort of, so it's like therapy without having to sort of feel like it is, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so the kind of the brainchild from it all stemmed from wanting to meet people with mental health issues, to help them get into exercise, but also in a safe environment to talk. And I met with a local personal trainer called Mark Larwood, and he kind of able to sit down and coffee, and he said, "Well, have you heard of something called Run Talk Run?" I knew of it, but I didn't know much of it. So we talked about it and researched it. I got in touch with the person who kind of owns Run Talk Run, and they have events all over the world. You know, there's some in Australia, some in America, quite a lot in the UK. There's one in Dubai, and I kind of said, "Look, I want to make a group up in Lincoln. Is that okay?" And Jess, who owns it, she said, "Yeah, of course, that's absolutely fine," and got it set up. So yeah, it feels amazing that I've now got people joining us for a run who are now looking forward to Tuesday nights, because we can just run, talk, run, talk, and run. It is a running group, but its main focus is the mental health side. So I like to think of it as it's the first step, the baby step of speaking to someone about mental health, of people who are happy to talk about their own issues if they want to. But to also help and start off that relationship with running, but also that first step into getting help they need.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, you setting that up is brilliant for other people, because sometimes we hear about these great ideas, but we always think, oh, someone else will sort that out. So you taking that step to actually form a group in your local area is awesome. So well done.
Yeah.
And then tell me about the book, because that you've been so busy promoting your book, which literally launched on Valentine's Day, didn't it? So
Yes,
tell me all about that. And you co-wrote it with your wife Amber.
Yeah, I've actually got a copy here from it.
Yeah, I love the cover. I love the cover.
Yeah, yeah, our publisher, she's got an amazing team behind her. So like I say, really, you got some amazing people behind her. Yeah. Yeah, so the book is sort of like, it is my life story regarding mental health. It starts off from a very early age up until up until now, really. Now, I've always said I wanted to write a book. When I got better, I wanted to write a book to try and detail my experiences in another way, to try and help people read the book and go, "Oh, Tom's going through that. Maybe I'm like that. Maybe I need to get some help." But I've never seen my story as just my story, because unfortunately, it's just the carer side of the story is not really well heard. Because people kind of assume, oh, well, they're caring for that person, they're obviously coping with it, but it's not always necessarily the case. So I want to write a book where it included Amber, because she's been through it all with me. So the idea is that, like I said, it's my life story all in chapters, and then when it gets to the point where I meet Amber and she gets introduced to the story, Amber does a chapter as well. Okay. So you get both sides of it. So the idea is that anyone could pick up the book and go, "Oh, okay, maybe I'm relaying to Tom. I need to get some help." Or someone could read Amber's side and go, "Oh, hang on a minute, I'm looking after someone. I'm looking like Amber's position. Maybe I need to get someone help." But it's also, I think it's amazing the way that that Amber's written it, because it's, like I say, it's my account. It's just like my account as well. So it's a true account, and it is literally everything. You know, no stone unturned. There's things even our family didn't really know about up until before we got it released. But it's a tool, so it kind of shows, you know, although the carers are coping in some respects and looking after that person, you know, they need support as well. I personally feel that's a big thing for not the world to realise, again, it's not a dig, it's just that is the way that it's always been. That people who are in Amber's position can also get the help, and to see that what they may be facing or going through is perfectly normal, and that may be what Amber felt at the time. So it is basically both sides of the story. I couldn't ever write a book without Amber, because like I said, it's not just my story, it's our story. Quite frankly, I know for a fact I wouldn't still be here right now talking to you if it wasn't for Amber. And yeah, she's just an incredible person, and her story really, when I proofread it, it most of the time brought me to tears, because I never really realised her side, because I was always the person who's being cared for. I had to look after myself, get myself better with support. It kind of made me think, wow, okay, I didn't know this is what Amber went through. I didn't know this is what the carer side of the situation really felt like. So that, in that respect, it kind of fulfilled the brief of what we wanted to do. And yeah, the feedback we've had so far has been in absolutely incredible. It really has, because it's, like I say, it's just a story of two people going through probably one of the worst times hopefully they'll ever have in their life. But yeah, people are really finding help in it, and it really feels incredible that people said, thanks for sharing, all that kind of stuff. It felt really amazing, really incredible.
Fantastic. That's so cool. And I imagine it was quite cathartic for both of you to go through that process, and almost nice for Amber to be able to share her story in such a way as you can read it and appreciate her on a different level. I mean, obviously you always appreciated her, but
Yeah.
like you say, reading her side and putting it into words in a very concise way just helps both of you understand each other even better, which is fab. And I'm sure it's going to help loads and loads of people. I mean, as you know, this project, the Be Glad Movement project, is about sharing stories and helping people understand not only what other people have been through, but what they're going through as well. So I can only sort of really thank you for being willing to share your story with us as well, with the Be Glad Movement community. So thank you so much for that. Is there anything that you would say to, I mean, you've been through so much, is there anything the different Toms in your life, what advice would you give Tom that was being bullied, and Tom that had just graduated and started feeling, having all these awful emotions? And take me back, what would you tell little Tom?
So what I would say is there's two mantras basically I live my life by now, really, and that is for every 1 in 4 people suffering with a mental health problem, there's always 3 others who can help save a life. And that kind of like, in itself details, mental health's a thing. I didn't know mental health was a thing at the time. I was the kind of person to go, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing, doesn't exist. And then obviously when I did go through it, obviously I knew it did exist. But the biggest one for me is if you go through 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 second, whatever time scale with a mental health problem, you're no longer a sufferer, but you're what I like to call a survivor, that you have survived, you survive, and you're thriving, you're still here. And that's kind of what I tell myself is that, no matter how bad it gets, people will listen. Maybe not everyone, but when you find that one person who will listen, you will be looked after, and you need to look after yourself. And things, although it look really bad at the minute, they will get better.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, although it seems really bad at the moment, if you persevere, if you thrive, things do get better eventually. And talk to someone, and and I know that you had an experience of trying to share with some friends that didn't really fully understand, and and even turned against you at one point. So to keep going, keep sharing, and find some people that can really support you and lift you up is so important. So
Definitely.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us.
A pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. If you like this video, do please hit the like and subscribe button, and you'll get notifications when new videos are uploaded. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all the social media. If you search at Be Glad Movement, you should be able to find us. And please do share. If you know anybody that could benefit from hearing this story, please do share, because that's what it's all about. And if you know anybody who's got a similar story, and it really doesn't matter if it's very similar, because I really do believe your story in your voice has the ability to help someone in their time of need. So thank you for watching, and I will look forward to seeing you in another episode. Oh, and the Be Glad Movement is now in podcast form. So if you're one of these people that likes to listen to stories while walking the dog or chopping the veg, then check out the podcast version. It's on SoundCloud and Instagram. What am I on about? iTunes. Brilliant. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in another episode. Many thanks.